So, day one of jury deliberations in Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York City has concluded. It's a historic day in American history. We as a nation have never experienced anything like this ever before. And unfortunately, the jury did not come back with a verdict today, but that's understandable. They're working through 34 felony charges, which could take some time. But in your normal case with your average defendant, you don't really know how the defendant is feeling, whether they're confident, whether they're nervous, whether they feel that they're going to be prosecuted. But Donald Trump is not your normal person. He's not a sane individual, so we know exactly how he feels because Trump, while jury deliberations were taking place, while he was still in the courtroom, he was posting relentlessly on Truth Social, like 20, 30, 40 posts in like a 6-hour period. And in these posts, he's screaming, he's typing in all caps, he's spreading conspiracy theories that are just not true. And to me, that paints a picture of a man who's panicked. He's worried about what the jury is going to say when they eventually come back with their verdict. So I'm going to show you some of these posts and kind of talk about them a little bit. And to me, he just seems really worried. So the first post I want to show you, which he typed while in the courtroom, says, "I don't even know what the charges are in this rigged case. I am entitled to specificity just like anyone else. There is no crime." So just to be clear here, after like 6 weeks of trial, after hearing from over 20 witnesses, 50 hours of witness testimony and working through court, Donald Trump is telling us that he has no idea what the charges are against him. I'll help him out. 34 charges of falsifying business records that have been elevated to felonies because they're alleging that you, Donald, concealed a further crime. It's that simple. This is not rocket science. We're not asking Donald Trump to be Albert Einstein and solve math equations. The charges are very straightforward. We know what Donald Trump has been charged with. We've known this for over a year now. And Donald Trump is ranting on social media saying he doesn't know what the charges are. Oh, by the way, when Donald Trump was arrested and arraigned back when he was indicted, he had the charges read to him, every single one. And he pleaded not guilty to every single charge. Every single one, he said, yes, I understand what the charges are, and I am pleading not guilty. But he is trying to tell us today that he doesn't know what the charges are. Give me a break. He knows exactly what he's being charged with. He knows that allegedly he did it. He knows that these conversations with Michael Cohen took place, these conversations with David Pecker took place, that a lot of the things, all of the things that are being accused of are likely true. But, this is what Donald Trump does. This is another attempt to undermine our justice system. He's saying, you know what? I've been treated unfairly. They haven't even told me what the charges are. They're not even being specific with me. I'm being targeted. It's a witch hunt. But that's just not true. Every step of the way, Donald Trump has been granted the right to due process. He has received treatment just like anybody else, right? Anybody else has gotten the exact same treatment he's had where they've read the charges to him, they've pled not guilty or guilty, whatever it might be, and they said, yes, I understand the charges. And again, he's been in court the entire time, and he's trying to tell us that he doesn't understand them? Please. He's just trying to undermine our justice system again, kind of rile up the base, kind of plant in their brains that they're being unfair to him and whatnot. But he's typing in all caps here. He seems very scared. And that's my takeaway, that he seems really nervous in this post here saying, I don't even know what the charges are. Of course he knows what the charges are. So aside from that nonsense, the next post I want to show you is something that Donald Trump put out, and it's a conspiracy theory that's been making the rounds on the Republican side of social media today. It's been spread by like Trump fans, Republicans, conservatives, the whole 9 yards. And Donald Trump's post says, quote, "It is ridiculous, unconstitutional, and un-American that the highly conflicted radical left judge is not requiring a unanimous decision on the fake charges against me brought by Soros-backed DA Alvin Bragg, a third world election interference hoax." So Donald Trump is bringing out all the buzzwords, every single one, and Donald Trump's vocabulary is very large, consisting of about 7 words. And as you can probably predict, that's not true. That is, of course, not true. Any decision against Donald Trump, whether they're finding him guilty or not guilty, has to be unanimous. This is just completely made up. And matter of fact, this is so made up that PolitiFact, which is a fact-checking website, had to make a post about it because all these Republicans were spreading that, oh, the judge is saying only 4 jurors need to find him guilty, which is nonsense. So PolitiFact put out this post on social media saying, after Judge Juan Merchan issued jurors' instructions In the Donald Trump case, some social media users said that the judge had told them they didn't have to reach a unanimous verdict. That's not what Merchan said. Any verdict requires unanimity. And they also went on to say in this article, they have like a little fact-checking section addressing the main claim, saying on May 29th, Juan Merchan, the judge in former President Donald Trump's Manhattan trial, gave the jury instructions for their deliberation, which are posted online, by the way. So anybody can go read them and see that this is not what happened, and that's not what Judge Merchan said, but of course Donald Trump doesn't read. Anyway, he told jurors that to find Trump guilty, they must agree unanimously on two things: that Trump falsified business records and that he did so intending to commit a separate crime. Merchan said jurors did not have to agree unanimously on what the separate crime was that Trump intended to commit. And by the way, that's how New York law works. In all these cases where you're like falsifying business records and it's elevated to a felony because of a second crime that's being concealed or furthered, you don't have to agree, or the jury doesn't have to agree on what that second crime is. That's why Donald Trump is not being charged. The district attorney theory on this case is that Donald Trump committed the falsification of business records 34 times to cover up a second crime, but he's only being charged with the falsification of business records, not the second crime. So you have to be unanimous on this, not on this. So they could say, the jury could theoretically say that, yeah, we agree that Donald Trump falsified all these business records, that he's guilty of this. And half of the jury can be like, well, we think he did it for tax reasons. And the other half could be, well, we think he did it for election reasons, to try to interfere with the election. But that still means that the jury is unanimous in both of these facts, that a crime was committed and a second crime was committed in furtherance or concealment of that second crime. So that's the truth. I mean, this is verifiable in New York law that's how it always works. This is how it's worked for every defendant before Donald Trump, and that's how it's going to work with Trump. It's not rocket science. Again, this is not math. This is not quantum physics. We're not asking Donald Trump to be Albert Einstein right now. We're just asking him to understand the basics of the charges against him, which clearly he doesn't. Maybe he should have stayed awake in court. Maybe he shouldn't be falling asleep all the time, and he would know what he's being charged with and how the charges actually work. And I mean, there's two options so far on both of these statements we've read from Donald Trump. Either one, he knows he's lying, or two, he genuinely doesn't understand the charges and he genuinely doesn't understand the law. And I don't know which one is more concerning. I think they're both equally bad. But the final post I want to show you is kind of the wrap up of Donald Trump's rant today on Truth Social. He said, according to the legal scholars and experts, the jury instructions given by a highly conflicted judge will go down as the most biased and unfair in judicial history. Biden witch hunt, election interference. Again, the buzzwords, really bringing them out today, as he normally does. But I always find it funny when he puts statements out like this and he says, according to the legal scholars and experts. What legal scholars? What experts? Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a legal scholar. Matt Gaetz is not an expert. Lauren Boebert is not a brilliant legal mind who's giving him the most sound advice on the law. So who is he citing here? Genuinely, who is saying that these are the most unfair jury instructions in American history? Really? Really? And again, he's just trying to interfere with our justice system. He's saying conflicted judge, biased, Biden witch hunt. Somehow Biden is involved in a state case. I don't know how he makes sense of that one. But this is kind of a summary of everything he said so far, that he's trying to once again rile up the base saying, well, the experts are on my side and, you know, Biden is involved in this and they're being so mean to me. And then, of course, the MAGA base will take every word he says as fact. They'll believe it. They'll clap along. But again, I don't have to say this for you. You know this. It's not true. None of this is true. The jury instructions were fair, and I would encourage people to go read them, especially MAGA, if they think that, oh, the judge was being mean to Donald Trump. Oh, it's so unfair. God, I mean, this is yet another example of why it's so important that we beat Donald Trump and MAGA in 2024, because we can't have this in office. We can't have this in the highest office of the land, being the most powerful person in the free world. We just can't. We can't have somebody who constantly undermines our justice system in a position of authority. Not happening, and we're going to work to make sure it doesn't happen. But again, to me, it kind of paints a picture of panic. He's breaking out the conspiracies, breaking out the lies, breaking out the buzzwords. And I think Donald Trump knows that it's not looking great for him. His best hope right now is a hung jury, and maybe that happens, but maybe it doesn't. And I think that Donald Trump is thinking about the doesn't as opposed to the maybe it will. So anyway, I'll wrap up the video there. we don't need to hear more from Donald Trump than we absolutely have to. It's very bad to hear from him. It's bad for our health. It stresses us out. So thank you so much for being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. Also, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about all of this. Share the video with anybody you think needs to see it. And as always, I appreciate you being here, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.